All right, let's go on the telephone lines now and speak with the Peace Council, Chairman of the Peace Council, Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante is on the line now. Good evening, sir, and thank you very much. We're grateful that you could join us.
Thank you very much.
Great. Prof, before we speak to you, we want to recap and go back to the weekend when President Akufo-Addo met the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei Tutu. At that meeting, he expressed displeasure about the activities of the vigilante groups and insisted that he will not allow activity of these groups, including the Delta Force, to continue, take place under his watch. Let's first hear him, and then we'll continue our conversation, Prof.
Okay.
I'm grateful for the support given me by the people in the Ashanti region. I want to apologize for what the Delta Force group did in the region. I promise to resolve it.
Right, he promised to resolve. Prof, let's look at this issue. Very, very critical. I know that from where you sit, this does not come to you as a surprise, especially in the lead up to the elections, the operations of the Invisible Force and their activities at the MPP headquarters and subsequent concerns that were raised that if this group is not reined in on time, it could foment trouble thereafter, after the elections. We are there now. It's like a prediction come true. I need to hear from you what you make of this latest development where the Delta Force, which is an appendage of the Invisible Force, stormed the circuit court and freed 13 of their members who had been remanded in custody by the court.
Well, I think first of all, I must say that it is very, very unfortunate that, we have a situation like this in our country. But I must also say that, we should try as much as possible not to over-politicize this kind of situation.
But, Prof, it is political. We cannot run away from that.
Let me finish the comment that I'm making, especially when you have heard the Interior Minister saying that the police is going to take action. The very people we are talking about did something which was against the laws of the land. The police had arrested them. The police had investigated them. They had brought them to the courts. And as they were in court today, some of their members who were not very pleased with what a judge had said that they should go, by what the judge had said, moved in to attack and to set them free. This is lawlessness. This is completely against the rule of law in our country. And because it is against the rule of law, it is important for the security services, the police especially, to assure Ghanaians that they have the capability to protect the interest of Ghanaians, to ensure that people of this nature, groups who call themselves with all sorts of names, look, the moment we begin to recognize them and give them these names, we legitimize them. These are groups that are against the rule of law. And I think we must call them as they are. And then take action against them.
That's right.
So that the ordinary citizen who is going about his normal business will not be scared, will not be afraid that he could be attacked with impunity by people who think that they have the laws, they have powers behind them. I'm glad that the president is said that he will deal with it, and the police is saying that they will deal with it. But I want to say to the police, can we trust you? Can we depend upon you to protect us Ghanaians, to ensure that there is peace and tranquility in the nation, that we can walk about freely without being attacked by tags of people, naming themselves, calling themselves all sorts of names, and with impunity, you know, doing things that they think they can do against the law.
Prof,
I think it is important that we take action against such people.
Prof, I know that it is ideal, and the ideal situation is better not to politicize it, but we cannot do away with the fact that the history of these groupings started way back prior to the elections, where a political party, the MPP, started feeling insecure or lost trust in the security services in protecting them. Now, the formation of these groups, as we already know before the elections, were to enable the MPP have a certain kind of protection for its leaders and also its premises. This was clear during the election period, and people like yourself spoke against it. So what I'm saying is that we are here because of something that we refuse to tackle from the onset as a country. And I reckon that we can put this squarely at the doorstep of the security agencies and the political party involved. But looking at this, we know that it could get out of hand. Boko Haram started this way. It's not far-fetched for us to begin to crack the whip hard. I mean, including even if it means that we have to bring in the military to quash this group.
Yes, yes. I do not doubt what you're saying. I mean, somebody has said that when you see a bird, you know, jumping in the middle of the road, the drama is in the bush. And so, yes, definitely, for people to come out and with impunity, even walk into a court to do this, they must think that, you know, they are protected, that they have, you know, powers behind them. But whatever it is, powers are saying that these are miscreants. These are people who have nothing to do with the rule of law, and therefore the police must crack the whip. For me, it doesn't help anybody simply sitting back and blaming political parties. You have done this, you have done that, even though we know that these are people who are, you know, claim to be supporters of political parties. They are people who are going against the rule of law, and nobody is above the law. Whether they belong to the ruling party or whatever party they claim they belong to, the police must crack the whip, and if they cannot do that, they should call in other security agencies to help them. So that the ordinary citizen walking about in Ghana can walk freely. The way things are going, if we are not very careful, it will get out of hands, and this is going to create all sorts of problems for us. And the police must assure Ghanaian public that we have a police service, you know, men and women who will be able to protect our interests and to ensure that such people do not threaten us in this land, which belongs to all of us.
Right. Professor Emmanuel Asante, we're grateful, but we'll have you hold briefly, so I put my last question to you, but we'll go back and hear the Minister for National Security, Albert Kandapa, who is saying that disbanding the activities of vigilante groups, it's very difficult and not easy because these groups are not legally registered under the law. Answering questions in Parliament, he assured the House the security agencies will take appropriate actions against persons who have constituted themselves onto these action groups violating the laws of the country.
There are no legally registered political vigilante groups in the country. And for that matter, there are no such groups to be disbanded. We must resolve as a house to urge all political leaders in the country to come together to deliberate on measures to discourage the establishment and recognition of such groups in political structures in the interest of state security.
Right. Let me take your thoughts, Prof, before I let you go. The National Security Minister says these groups will be difficult to disband because they are not legally registered.
But at least, but it must, you know, that's why we have the police force, and they have to do investigation to find out who are the leaders. If these are not recognized groups, if these are not groups that are registered, it means that they are outlaws. It means that these are thugs who have, come together to harass people, to create mayhem in the country. And therefore, it is the responsibility of the security services, Kandapa's outfit, as well as the police and all the other security agencies to investigate, to find out who are members of these groups and bring them to book. Because otherwise, we're going to have a situation on our hands when, other groups will be springing up, merging all over the place. And if we're not very careful, we're going to have a group like Boko Haram on our hands.
Right. Professor Asante, we're grateful for your time. Thanks very much. Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante is the chairman of the National Peace Council. I'm Stephen Enti. And